Hello, my name is Matthew speaking. Our topic for tonight is using your vocation for God's redemptive purpose. And specifically, my vocation is construction. What if God gave you the skills and the ability to design, to build, and to problem solve, and He placed on your heart a burning desire to use those skills for His glory? What would you do? Well, rationally, you would get to work. Well, the question is, where would you work? And I say that you will go where there's most urgency, and I say you'll go where God leads you. I have 13 years of experience as a site construction foreman, mostly on heavy equipment with utilities, infrastructure, various water systems. I believe the fulfillment of the mission requires more than just preachers and evangelists. It requires people with real-world skills who are willing to sacrifice time and comfort in order to meet needs that would have otherwise went unmet, and who are willing to use their vocational skills to glorify God, to communicate the gospel in word and deed. So let's look at the needs. What are the needs first? What skills are required to meet those needs? And how can God be most glorified in meeting those needs? So look at the needs. Around the world, 1.2 billion people are without safe drinking water. 1 billion people without access to roads. 2.3 billion people without reliable energy sources. 4 billion people without modern communication services. Compassion International says that their silent partner in worldwide ministry is infrastructure. Without proper infrastructure, children can't have a safe and secure home to live and to learn in, and can't adequately develop. People die every day from lack of safe drinking water. 4,000 children each day die from diseases like cholera and typhoid, preventable diseases. While I was in Haiti, I spent a week in Haiti this summer, and it was obvious that infrastructure needs like water, sanitation, health were all necessary. But let's not forget, large areas of that country were ravaged by an earthquake, and construction personnel are vital in rebuilding areas like that. What skills are required to meet these needs? Sanitation, despite being the dirtiest theme in aid and development, is undeniably a life-saving one. Sanitation can only be rightly addressed by people with adequate professional experience in excavating, in plumbing, and in utility work. Infrastructure like physical resources like roads, communication networks, water treatment facilities, sanitation facilities, proper homes, all require professionals to use their professional experience to build these proper things. Local labor forces need supervision and training from professional workers. Site construction foreman has the necessary skills to meet needs in other contexts. But the one skill that I haven't learned from my job, and it's the reason I'm taking a Bachelor of Science in Religion, is because I believe through deep study of God's Word, I can gain the all-important knowledge of building disciples, making disciples. And I believe that combining your vocational skills and your biblical skills is vital for every job to glorify God. God's Word commands us to meet urgent physical and spiritual need, and He is glorified through the obedience of His Word. James 1:27 says that religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this, to look after orphans and widows in their distress. Tom Martinby said that true holiness involves making concrete provision for those who are unable to take care of themselves. Let's not forget that physical and spiritual need are intertwined. They're connected, and you can't have one without the other. The spiritual need is important, it must be met. Physical need is also important. Matthew 25, Jesus taught us, he expounded on this concept when He taught us that the righteous will provide food and water for the hungry, will provide shelter and clothing for the needy, will go to the imprisoned and the impoverished in their distress. And God is glorified by the obedience of His Word. Ecclesiastes 2:24 says that a man can do nothing better than to eat and drink and find satisfaction in his work. And this too I see is from the hand of God. One of my favorite preachers, John Piper, says that God is most glorified in us when we are most satisfied in Him. And I believe that the overarching purpose of our work, our vocations, is to glorify God. As we've seen, there's great need in other contexts. Urgent need, physical need, urgent spiritual need. And it's going to require real-world believers with practical skills who are willing to use their biblical skills, who are willing to use their vocational skills to address physical need and address spiritual need. We're created to work and bring God glory through our work. So let's combine these two things. While I was in Haiti that week this summer, the request I heard the most from these youths and the teenagers and the children was, teach me a skill. Teach me your vocation. Show me what you do for a living. And it struck me that God can use any of us to accomplish His purpose if we're willing and if our life is on the table for Him.